It's time to create drones for Fallout. How I'm gonna make them? Well, taking into account that many of the robots, drones, vehicles and things in Fallout are based on the Soviet Union or real Soviet designs, I have decided to use pens to make these wonderful robots. Basically, that's all. If you want, you can do it, and if not, well, nope. I'm gonna make this easy, so that everyone can replicate it, just as I have done. Part 1. A basic base. As base, I have used this Men in Black ship and the Dorfa drone of Atomic Heart. But I cannot make those propellers. It's impossible for me. But I'm gonna make a turret really similar to that one. Well, that rotor, or propellers, I make them using the propeller of a submarine. Not everyone has the same thing. I have used the tip of this Loctite or cyanoprolite glue. The clicker should be the turbine, and the superior part of the fuselage should be this part of the pen. We have to put just right there. And later we have to weld or glue that there on the top part. The bevel should be on the bottom part. I'm gonna cast because I only have one of these parts and I want to replicate them indefinitely. Such as this. And while it's drying, I'm gonna do another thing. For example, is the moment to remove the clicker of the pen, which should be the turbine. Do not throw to the trash this dented part, because that will be the part of the exhaust of the turbine, what we call usually afterburner. Once this is done, we can remove that from the cast. That noise. I cannot recall that noise. Yep, definitely. Well, once you have remembered your childhood trauma, it's the moment to glue the cupola on the top of the drone.
Wow.
Such as this. Well, and once you have forgot about the flood, I have to glue these magnets, but in this turbine I have glued them before, because thanks to this, every single magnet we glue should be from the same side. But to detail the details, as I have said, we cannot do such propellers. First, I think something similar like the MiG-21, such as that cone, but it looks really aggressive and fast, and I do not like that look for this drone. Second, I think on the MiG-15 and 17 jet intake, but or that Chinese MiG-17. But in the end I have choose the jet intake covers of the Mi-24 helicopter. Look at that awesome nose art. Pretty questionable. Okay, I choose this one because it's the one that reminds me more the overall shape of the drone. Very bulbous, like a, I don't know, like a very bulbous. We can use this part of this big pen. We just need only to sand that part. Then you have to cut it and glue it. We have to create or make a hole on the bottom part of the turbine to later just glue the dented part of before, the part of the clicker. Maybe you should need or try dry fitting before. If it's too large, just cut it a bit more and that's all. Perfect. Now yeah, that's what I wanted. Sometimes you just have to adapt because you cannot replicate what do you have on your mind. This part came from the top part of a pen. You obviously should not use a filled pen with paint, because you're gonna mess everything. You should use a completely empty tip of a pen. Now use liquid cyanoprolite to hide the welding seam between the cupola and the rest of the fuselage. Now the same. Sand everything without touching the serial number of the pen. And later you can remove the particles using a brush with water. Well, I like it. I really like it. I'm not gonna say that no. I'm gonna do a lot this. This is dry fitting, which is basically not gluing things. And now I'm gonna dry fit the cannon to know how I'm gonna make a hole where I should make a hole to put the eye or camera for the drone. And I'm gonna do the same in the back part, in the back side of the head of the drone, on the back. And now it's the time to try to make little holes using pins. I'm gonna use a pin with head, because a pin with head is gonna allow us to not perforate our own fingers. You could make a version with long legs, such as this one. It looks ridiculous, but I love it. The thing is, I prefer to make this other version with the extended legs. This is the one that I'm gonna use such as that. I just gonna cut in half this to show how you can create the landed version. But this actual version, I'm gonna cut these previously half-cut legs more to make them like geared up inside the drone. Inside the robot. It's not a drone, it's a robot. Such as a sort of legs, such as the LEM, lunar module of the Apollo missions, or like the Sputnik. We have to try a lot to do dry fitting before gluing, and I like it. I'm gonna take these semi-domes, if you do not have this cast, which actually came from Green Stuff World. It's what I use to make rivets and such things. You can use the heads of the pins of before. You basically have to cut in half one of these spheres, and then you have a semi-dome, semi-little dome actually. I prefer to use this cast because I will have a lot of these semi-cupoles, semi-domes for new projects. And now is the time to glue the camera to the center of the hole. To not mess everything, I'm gonna apply a bit of glue in the tip of one of the pins, then in the hole, and then put the camera inside. And I call it on. Perfect. I love it. I have experience in making things that look horrible and mess things, so I love when something goes such as I planned, and I really like it. That's the reason you need to dry fit a lot. The next thing I'm gonna do is to use these credit plastic cuts, which are useless nowadays, at least these ones, to create bases for the robots. These bases are gonna be less thick than the Games Workshop ones, and I prefer them for my exposed models than the Workshop ones. Then I'm gonna make a hole in the center to fit a magnet to glue it in there, and you should use kitchen paper to allow this to not vegetable paper, I guess it's called also, to allow this to not glue on the table, because if that happens, well, you have a problem. So it's better to avoid that. Well, we have to cut the tip, just the tip of the drone. That sounds extremely well. Such as this. Well, I want for this to look like the mouth of an octopus. So that's the reason we need to cut this in half. And because my sausage-sized fingers are that big, I'm gonna use the tip of something which is smaller than my actual fingers. You can use whatever you have at hand to fit this better. This is important for us to make because this will justify why there are tentacles going out of the drone. And these tentacles work such a flying stand. I have used guitar string or bass strings. And well, there you have it. In the case of these ones, I'm gonna twist these ones to make something similar to the DNA helix to create a sturdy standing base. But because this is enormous, this is large, I'm gonna cut this in half. It is probable, it is possible, and it's advisable that you wear glasses, because if not, maybe one of these things jumps out directly to your eye. So that's not good. Now we should just to test. Well, it fits. For this part we're gonna use kitchen baking powder because it's gonna activate the glue, it's gonna make it glue it faster, and it will give some body for the heater string, the magnets and the baking powder to be just one and make this extremely sturdy. It will give you a free texture which look like mud, dust, soil, ground, whatever. Painting things. Well, time to paint things. For that we are gonna use Vallejo mold for painting the bases. It doesn't matter that you go sloppy here because this is just for creating texture, nothing more. Now we're gonna use this technical from Citadel. This technical, it creates, when it dries, something similar to desert ground, desert soil, which has been broken. And now we have to prime the boats. Well, and now I'm gonna paint this particular one, with metallic, Vallejo metallic. It doesn't matter that this part is not absolutely perfect, because after this, we are gonna paint everything using a normal pencil. Yeah, it's an easy kind and cheap way to paint metallics. And that one is white because we have just primed it white. It has nothing out of the ordinary. And now with the pencil we are gonna add this cool metallic kind of texture. You can use the same for painting, for example, exposed parts of trucks or treads of tanks. It's a technique really used for older modelers and painters. Then you should use a varnish, gloss varnish, to protect this paint, because if not you are gonna remove it. Now for painting things such as that red star, I'm gonna use stencils instead of decals. You just need to cover everything with masking putty or masking tape really well, and then just airbrush with red, that's all. I bought these stencils in AliExpress and you can reuse them a lot of times, contrary to the decals. Now I'm gonna paint 3 on these jet engines with the same technique. You just need masking tape and that's all. And well, you have a perfect number 3 on the turbines of the robots. And it's the moment to paint chipping on the bots or drones. Using this marvelous sound effect. If you want to make vertical chipping, you should use a sharp pointed brush, such as I'm doing right now. For the small chipping, use a sponge. But yeah, for precision chipping, use a brush. I want to create this kind of line, this chipping line, such as a Rambo scar on the face of the drone, because it looks adorable, so with this scar it's gonna look more fierce. I'm gonna do the same in the top part of the drone, because I imagine that this drone flies such as a plane when it's at its maximum speed. Not enough to break the sound barrier, but enough to chip, such as the nose of propeller pocket, such as propeller planes in World War II. Now it's the time of the washing. I'm gonna use oils, because acrylics is a thing that I not use anymore. I prefer oils because they have more control over the entire model and process. Oils are based in pigments and an activator. If you have an activator, you can, once the oil has dried, it's just pigment, and you can remove this or reactivate it with the activator. Now with a dry pencil, you can clean it. And now it's almost clean. You can do this with acrylics, yep, but acrylics dry faster and they can ruin the model. And later, with a thinner, we can clean whatever is not for our taste, such as I'm doing right now with this paper, cleaning everything. Now with a brush with thinner, we can clean more things also. I really love these oils, they have saved my life a lot of times. Once you like the details, keeping in mind that this is a robot for the Fallout universe in East Europe or in Europe in general that has been flying 200 years, I guess this dirt is enough. Now we're gonna make leaking effects. Now we're gonna reactivate the pigment, such as you are seeing right now. And we have to move from left to right until we create a recess on that point. And then a vertical movement from top to bottom will create this, which is a bit curved. But I'm gonna move the turbine in a position that allows me to use the brush better to make this a more straight line. Such as this. And well, I got it done. You have a special paints to create leaking, but you can use the actual washing to do it. That's the reason I mentioned I would invest in Aven oils. And it's almost done. This bouncy boy bounces that much that you could use it as a kind of cool toy for your car. Well, now we'll have to paint more small details. Well, and because we have to speak about everything necessary to paint these boats, I'm gonna speak about the lore. There is lore about these boats? Well, actually not, because I have invented them. Actually, in Fallout, the Soviet Union, we do not know what happened. That's the reason I wanted to create a faction based in Europe, from Lisbon to Vladivostok, why not? So, also in East Europe. What's the most recognizable thing of East or West Europe of the 50s era, from nowadays standards and for the Fallout standards that we know? Well, the Red Star, the Soviet Union. I have created a homebrew faction, or invented fanfiction faction, it sounds a bit weird, say that out loud, from ex-soldiers of the pre-war, from Spain, Italy, Greece, Sweden, Finland, France, and obviously Germany, Soviet Union, which all in common have trenches. I mean the clothing, trench clothes. Why? Well, because I love it, and the Fallout New Vegas, New California Rangers had those cool dusters. What we have in Europe? Well, we have trenches, and they look cool. So basically everything is related to aesthetics. And the soldiers, such as Ulysses says in the Devyzed, basically unite their strengths thanks to hate, not to each other, but to whatever. To the politicians that fail them, to the elites that hide in bunkers, I'm not sure. As I told you, I'm creating this on the way, and I do not have write nothing, and it's just my fanfiction thing to justify creating things in East Europe, putting tanks, horses or drones. For this actual drone, I had the idea that it would be fantastic that they speak between themselves, such as the turrets of Portal, but not in that way. Maybe it's like, for example, using music. I have the idea of using Tesla coil encodement to transmit orders, information, whatever. And it would be cool if you have a Pip-Boy or a modified military degree radio to intercept these waves, clicking on the actual note that would sound, because you as a player not know that song is, for example, Rasputin. I like to think that this drone communicate using music of the 80s, played with Tesla coils. You can comment on this section if this idea is something that you like or not. It's time to make this a bit more realistic. I'm gonna paint burn effects on the turbines of the white drone and the grey drone. You are not gonna see the grey drone, only the white. I'm gonna use black pigment. For cleaning this, I'm gonna use my fingers. Use a clean, different finger each time, because if not, you are gonna apply dirty finger markings on the drone. And you will have a convincing burn effect, such as this one. And it's almost done, almost there. There is only one thing, to paint black on the cameras, and then you should use also gloss varnish to paint the small tips of the metallic legs of the white bot, because it's the same varnish we have used in the other metallic Sputnik robot. Install the cannon, the barrel, or the tip of that pen there. And the cool part is that because we have not glued the tip of the pen, it can aim upwards, downwards, and also the turbines can move. So you can change the position of the drone or robot. Thanks to the base, magnetic bases, you can put the robots in a variety of dioramas if you put on the diorama before a magnet. And this is how you achieve to have a cool model with basically using trash and pens. And that's all. And here we have a base that allows the drone to look like it's taking off or basically landing. It's cool because it's not glued to the actual drone, so we can remove the drone from the standing base. We can remove the base thanks to the magnet from the base to put or magnetize these to a diorama. Well, that's all. I really appreciate you to remain till the very end. Thank you really much. Keep in mind that if your base, what you are taking as reference, is something that you cannot replicate as you want, well, you can take concessions. I wanted this Atomic Heart robot, I also wanted this Fallout 76 robot, and I also wanted...
Cave Johnson here, introducing the consumer version of our most popular military-grade product.
Hello.
The turret. How do we get so many bullets in them? Like this. Plus, we fire the whole bullet. That's 65% more bullet per bullet.
Yep, the beautiful portal chute turret. I will be really glad if you gave a like, subscribe, share, click on notifications because this is not the end. I'm gonna make more things, probably not more Fallout invented things, related things to Fallout. I will do more in the future. But I'm a bit bored right now and I want to create something small and cool and cute. I want to create a goblin tank, probably. Why not? I'm not sure what I'm gonna do in the next video. I'm sure that it's not gonna be something related to Fallout. I will do more things related to Fallout in the near future, but my next video probably would be a goblin tank because I want to variate a bit. Well, that was all. Thank you really much.